Hi everyone, I'm Anthony O'Flynn. This is an energy update for the summer solstice in the Southern Hemisphere for December 2024. Solstice is next Saturday, December 21st in the evening. I'll be running a free event, a summer solstice celebration event on the Sunshine Coast at the boat ramp near Twin Waters. It's a free event. It'll start 4 p.m. All the details are on my Facebook page. I made an event under my personal name. Everybody's welcome. It'll be meditation, breathwork, connection, and should be an interesting time for connecting with like minds, considering everything that's going on the planet right now. So this will be an energy forecast for the solstice that I'll be uploading in different parts. So this is obviously part one, and stay tuned on your socials for the other parts, which I'll get to over the coming days. There's an awful lot of information to communicate with you all. I haven't been making a lot of videos, but that doesn't mean that there hasn't been a lot to say and a lot to talk about. I've actually been busy on my property doing all kinds of different projects here. So what I wanted to start with is, obviously at the beginning of this year, 2024, I gave the theme that this is the year of convergence, that 2024 is the year of convergence, where all the various social, political, economic issues that we are experiencing on this planet now would converge intensely, and this has proven to be even more accurate than what I had first thought with the finale of 2024. Is there an alien invasion imminent? Are we about to experience first contact? Is this a collective psy-op? Is this the Project Bluebeam that many people have been speaking about? Going all the way back to Wernher von Braun, who was obviously working for NASA. And if you don't know, you're not aware of this, there was actually a whole project called Project Paperclip, where at the end of World War II, many of the Nazi scientists actually came and worked for NASA. That's fully documented. That is nothing new. That is not a revelation. And that is the source of this belief or information that there will be a staged alien invention integration at some point. So that really brings us full circle as far as this year of convergence. And on that topic, I don't think that in the way that I'm forecasting the events to unfold during this global paradigm shift, that 2024, this year of convergence, that's the end of it. Actually, not at all, because 2023 was the year of the counter move. 2024 was the year of convergence. 2025, I will be speaking about that very, very soon. Obviously, we're at the end of the year, but the events will converge even more going into next year in 2025, and even more into 2026. But this is just the start of the process of where we're at on this colossal shift, which is quite profound. Let me just make this point before I get into it. If you're not aware of this whole phenomenon that's occurring around the world, where these so-called drones are showing up en masse, particularly in Pennsylvania and New Jersey in the US. They've been showing up in England, Germany, China, even reports in New Zealand, even Shinjuku, which is downtown Tokyo. So this process has been going for a while. If you're just catching up, this started intensely in November, like intensely. I know it's been going on longer than that. But the most interesting outcome, at least for me at the initial stages of this whole event, is that this is a colossal tactical error on behalf of the globalists who are orchestrating such events, because the outcome doesn't serve their purposes in the medium to long term at all. So why is that? Well, if this is a staged alien event, excuse me, then the masses then all of a sudden are given permission to believe in UFOs, ETs, aliens are now real. And so the belief system of the planet shifts. It moves the needle in a huge way, in a way that will be unimaginable at this point, to integrate the belief system in the collective subconscious mind to understand the existence of UFOs, ETs, non-human intelligence, whatever name you want to give to it, that they exist, that's real, which actually could pave the way for genuine face-to-face open contact in the coming decades, or even later in this decade, possibly. There's no way to determine that at this point. So this means that if the collective believe the narrative that will be introduced or indoctrinated into the collective through the mass media and so on, which doesn't serve the globalists in the long term, medium to long term. Now, the other alternative is that people reject the narrative that is attempted to be introduced in the collective mind by the mass media, the propaganda machine, and don't trust the government and don't trust the media even more. So we're seeing that trust in government, trust in the media decline rapidly during the pandemic, and we see that that this is another potential outcome. So it is possible we can have both of these outcomes happening simultaneously, where some people believe the narrative and then some people don't. It actually doesn't really matter. But the important thing to understand is if this is an operation, then the outcome is not necessarily for you to believe in UFOs, ETs, aliens, all these topics. It's a problem reaction solution. So the Hegelian dialect will play into effect. What will be the solution, you see? And the solution is planned before these steps are created. This is like a managed process to change behavior, attitudes, who knows, introduce social crediting system. It's not clear yet, obviously. But what is clear is that this phenomenon is occurring around the world, specifically focusing on Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and other parts of the US, and it's actually causing a schism in the unification of the authorities in terms of the sheriff department and even more local politicians at a state level, that they want answers, and the government, the FBI, Homeland Security, US Air Force, through various channels of communication and so on, really aren't giving any clear answers at this point, which just feeds the speculation as to what's occurring, which creates the loosh, which is always harvested, because most of it is basically the emotion of fear, tension, anxiety, which is an ongoing process on this planet. And I will start to speak to the more broader, global, wider agendas of what's occurring, because the process that we're going through and the deconstruction of the institutions, or the trust in the institutions and so on, is really a big part of where we're at in this global paradigm shift. And the UFO ET topic as a reference is really a linchpin of the whole thing. However, I'll just make this point as a side point. It cannot be overlooked that it is never as significant or as important or as a quest more important than to understand the true nature of your soul, for this spiritual awakening, to understand the essence of who you are, to be able to satisfactorily and genuinely answer the question, who am I? And to have this self-realization, this state of enlightenment, of liberation, of moksha, mukti, whatever name you want to give to it. That is the ultimate human quest. The answers of some of the manifestations of the universe, such as ETs, aliens, we may not answer in this lifetime. We may. It is uncertain at this point what exactly is occurring at this moment, and it's very difficult to draw conclusions on this topic. So firstly, what are we talking about here in the event that this is at least in part, which no one's talking about, because people have this black and white thinking in this paradigm where it's either a psyop, it's not like a hoax, but it's an operation, or it's a genuine ET phenomenon. What if it's both? What if it's both happening at the same time? What if there is some form of ET contact, at least in terms of the sky, lights in the sky, this phenomenon, and the powers that be are trying to muddy the waters and actually launch all these drones to confuse the situation. That is one possibility that I haven't seen anywhere talked about in the narrative and in the rhetoric on this topic, which is actually it's blowing up on the internet rapidly day by day at the moment, particularly because there's no clarification or clarity on what's occurring through the government and through any agency really at all. So what does this all mean? Well, I think that firstly and foremostly, this is actually a lesson in discernment, and whatever actually comes in the months and whatever we can know for certain, it doesn't take away opportunity for us to develop our discernment and also secondarily our intuition as to what's occurring. So this need for discernment will intensify as we move through the paradigm shift, and also the need to not fall into just this black and white thinking. The nuances of what's occurring and transpiring have subtleties to them, have nuances to them, and also from an ego point of view, to be comfortable with the fact that you may have to revise your position on a certain topic, in this case the ET phenomenon, and perhaps you had that wrong, which is all okay. And this is really a test of the ego at the level of pride. So if we zoom out from some of these things, it's much more going on than just belief systems or just information data that's been spewed out on social media through the various videos, various influencers and so on, which is all relative, but how do we synthesize that down? And this is why the need for discernment is critical. And discernment doesn't always mean getting things right. It also means understanding logically that you don't have enough information or data points to draw a cohesive conclusion. And that's okay. And that's where we're at right now. Like, you see the rhetoric that people are getting emotional about it, and the emotion is usually anger, frustration, hate even, that other people don't agree with them on the internet, which is really the mark of an extremely unevolved soul. And we saw that basically 2020 and onwards. And all points can be valid. And I think that that's the beauty of the journey that we're on, that it is basically a spiritual journey. And this is just a vehicle or an opportunity to experience higher states or experience more equanimity or detachment or humility. All these really beautiful qualities rather than being self-righteous. So let's see where that takes us in this process, because we can't at a causal level. We can look at the effect. The effect of this is, the cause. The cause of this is why now. Always the temporal indicators of why now. I'll speak more in other videos about the more intuitive understanding I have had of first contact in previous months over our spring here in Australia as to how I see things. But the obvious indicator is that this is somehow possibly connected to the President-elect Trump. He doesn't stray from the headlines too long in any topic, but why would this occur now to disrupt this process? That is potential. It's a potential. I'm not saying clearly that this is causally linked. It's possible. The next one is, of course, that there has been a huge geopolitical move with Israel invading Syria and taking part of the Golan Heights, which has always been a disputed territory. Very beautiful part of the world. I've actually been there myself. Is it a distraction? Okay. Is it a distraction to do with that? Is it a distraction to do with some other events? So I've already mentioned that perhaps the distraction that's occurring with these drones, which I don't even particularly like this word drone. By the way, some of these so-called drones are as big as SUVs. Other people are saying they're a small car. Other people are saying that when they appear to be detected, they go dark, they turn their lights off. It's difficult to distinguish or separate the fact from the fiction. Even one video I've seen on this topic turned out to be digital art, so therefore it was just totally fiction. It wasn't real at all. But more generally, when you see a trend that's occurring, particularly, okay, maybe you can explain away the events perhaps in China or Shinjuku or I don't know the magnitude of those events. But the point is the magnitude of the event that's occurring in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, it can't be explained away that with one report I saw that this is just, drones and manned aircraft. It's too big an event to explain that away. Also, some of these drones are emitting some form of chemical. Have no explanation for that, what that actually is. There's various first-hand reports of that, which if there's enough of them, then you can be sure that there is more to the story that you can put that into your information as to it, draw a better conclusion as to what's occurring. So the most bizarre thing of it is that the statements coming out of the government over there is that it's not posing a national threat, it's not a foreign entity. Well, what are they? And the use of the word drone, look, I don't know if that's even an accurate word to even use, but at least it can give a comprehensive description as to what's occurring. Some of these drones are going into the ocean, and some of them appear to be dematerializing or at least disappearing into a portal or something live on the screen. Now, I'm not saying that's actually happening or that's true, but that's what they appear to be doing. And en masse, like there's a lot of them, it's not just one. So obviously the rhetoric around the world is at this stage very confused, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But what is interesting is it again puts another nail in the coffin for the mainstream media, which haven't really been reporting this with the significance compared to what's happening on social media, on the internet, which is another element of the paradigm shift, the decline of the legacy media, which is inevitable, and particularly with all their agendas as far as really not being a clear and accurate source of information and disseminating facts that are in the public interest. So we have a lot to process there, and it's happening in real time. At this stage, because of the lack of transparency from the government and all the other lack of detail they're giving, it's very clear that this is there is an agenda there. This is some kind of process that they at least know a lot more about than what they're saying. And then you have to fall into the three categories. Is this an operation? Is this an alien invasion? Is this a foreign entity in creating some sort of hostile act? They've already dismissed that. Maybe that's not true either. But which one is it? Because it's one of them, or is it all of them? It's difficult to say. But going back onto this topic of what is disclosure, and we've seen the recent hearings in Congress and so on. Firstly, this is what I refer to as fake disclosure. I don't think that the truth is coming out through this soft disclosure process at all. I'm not suggesting that the individuals involved are disingenuous or are misleading in any way, or the information that they're saying is wrong. The point that I make here is that there is a complete lack of depth of the information, the history of UFO ET contact, and we're not being told the full story. That's the short of it. And there's a reason for that, because we're experiencing managed disclosure, and this will somehow be integrated into it along the way if it is considered to be some kind of alien invasion. And if this is the best that they can do, then this is going to be the biggest laughable tactical error that they've ever made in controlling the narrative of belief systems, particularly in the context of aliens and UFOs and everything around those topics in terms of propulsion systems and all these things, because they have waited too long to give any context to what's occurring, and also people are filming it themselves. I mean, this is going to be a colossal mistake if this is the level of planning and execution that we're going to see with this topic, because it must be something. You know, you can only put things in the too hard basket, and I'm not sure what that is for so long before people start to draw conclusions that have merit and are digested and processed, and not rushing to rapid conclusions. So this term disclosure itself, to me, is part of this Orwellian dialect that's been constructed around language itself, because behind language you have consciousness and emotions, belief systems and values. And when we hear the term, or even use the term as I am, official disclosure, then who's disclosing this on my behalf? That there's an authority, that there's some sort of parental figure that gets to moderate and to induce and create values and beliefs around the UFO phenomenon that are then acceptable for me to have. And you see, this is why the term official disclosure is extremely disempowering. It's getting a bit windy. It's extremely disempowering because it's basically transferring your own sovereignty and belief systems from your own consciousness to that of the government, three-letter agencies, you know, the Pentagon, whoever. And this is all part of the control system, actually. Why? The question is, why do you need the government to tell you that it's okay to believe in UFOs? That is really what official disclosure is. That firstly, that the government think they have some God-given right to control the information around this topic, this interaction with this planet, with humanity, and that they are the arbiters of truth, as disseminated through the propaganda machine that is the mainstream media. And so therefore the term official disclosure, to me, is actually a term of disempowerment to the human soul, and to know our place in the galaxy, and to know who we are, and what our relationship is at a planetary level and at a soul level, and where this is going. And thankfully we are coming to the end of these pathetic control systems, and people actually need this self-awareness to actually understand how much their belief systems and values are controlled by external forces that they never asked for. But because we are so indoctrinated here on this planet, all of us, even the people who consider themselves to be awake, that we don't have this reflection, this ability to have this discernment to see, wow, I'm waiting for the government to tell me that UFOs are real. I mean, how many of you are watching this have seen something you can't explain in the sky, for example, that you know isn't a plane or a helicopter or a drone or something like that? So for me, this term official disclosure is just another Orwellian childish attempt to manipulate and suppress the power of the human soul. So I'm getting rained on now, so I think I might end this video now. I've got to be somewhere. Obviously, there's so much more to talk about with this, but let's see how this topic unfolds. I'll pick this up in the next video. There's a lot more information that other commentators are making on this phenomenon that's occurring and unfolding. Apparently the drones appear only or mostly at night, is something I've just heard recently this morning. And also, no one has been able to track them back to source. How can that be? No one knows where they're coming from, no one knows where they're going. That's the information that we're getting, which is ridiculous. These satellites in the sky can photograph a number plate hundreds of kilometers above the Earth. So there is a lot that we aren't being told. I'll pick this up in the next video. I'm getting really badly rained on here. Thanks very much for watching. Check out the video, the event, Summer Solstice event, and I'll pick this up in the next video. We live in epic times.